Yet again, like Saturday, contrasting matches on the Sunday doubleheader. We saw in the afternoon, it was something that went down to the wire, and then here at night, even though it was a last over finish, it was really inevitable what the result was going to be for much of that game. This was the top table clash we told you about, Mumbai against Delhi, and Mumbai for the first time winning chasing, and they did it in style. Yes, as I said, they took it to the last over, but that was just purely due to some decent bowling at the end. They had a fabulous bowling attack, and we know that, Delhi, and they just played it well strategically and won by 5 wickets with 2 deliveries to spare. Joy Bhattacharjya, Michael Vaughan there. Fair assessment, Michael, that the last over not quite reflective of Mumbai's dominance.
No, I mean, I thought it was a really good chase, because sometimes when you're chasing that kind of total, you can be a little bit circumspect. You can think you've got a little bit more time while they went for it. De Kock at the top, just attacked. Best way that he can play. Suryakumar Yadav in fine form. Whenever a spinner comes on, you just know that he's going to try and dominate. I thought he dominated Ashwin in particular very nicely indeed, and Axar Patel. The Mumbai Indians once again just had the power. Experience and class has shone tonight with Mumbai. Delhi will be in that dressing room thinking, should have got a few more runs, weren't quite good enough with the ball. But in the field, I think Ricky Ponting has such high standards as a coach, as a player himself, as a captain, in terms of making sure that his fielding teams operate very, very strictly. Cricbuzz, I think, might have to sit in the corner and listen to Ricky Ponting talk to him. He might be catching a few balls and getting a few balls whacked to him over the next few days, because he had a poor night in the field.
Yeah, Mohammad Kaif will probably get involved in that particular exercise as well. But Joy, just looking at Mumbai again, very efficient, finished things off the way we expected. And the engine being at the back doesn't always mean you have to go 0 to 60 in 3 seconds. It means you have that assurance that you can finish the job.
No, exactly. I mean, I think there was a point being made here by Suryakumar Yadav and Quinton de Kock that, look, the engine's not at the back. We guys run the engine. We're up front. The runs were scored up front, and really it's Quinton de Kock and Suryakumar Yadav who finished this game off. Because by the time they finished off, and look at it, 7.33 is okay, because you're chasing 160, it's okay. 8.5 and 10.4 in those periods, in 7 to 10 and 11 to 15, is outstanding. That means you just never allowed the spinners, the Delhi spinners, the much wanted Delhi spinners, to sort of put a chokehold on your scoring. And Suryakumar Yadav was wonderful that way. I think what he does very well is what very high-class batsmen do. Michael would have seen somebody like a Brian Lara. Against spin, Surya has that rare gift of being able to manipulate the field. That means he just waits for you to move a little bit, then he hits you through the gap. Then when you move the fielder out there, he hits you through the other gap. He just does that so well against international attacks, against any kind of spin attack, that, everyone who looks at him, especially the international commentators, they look at him and say, why is this guy not playing for India? And of course, that's a question that hopefully should be answered, shouldn't have to be asked in the next year or so.
Yeah, I mean, he played a while at Kolkata and then popped over, originally, of course, from Mumbai. But interesting you should mention that, because all those runs that he was scoring, and de Kock after a certain point, that 10.4 we saw in that third quadrant was the contrast between them and Delhi. Delhi were just scoring a runner ball between 11 and 15. And that, I think, Michael, cost them that extra 15 or 20 runs when Shikhar Dhawan was trying to find form, but they were also looking for a score.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very important point. Shikhar Dhawan, for the kind of overall tournament, they need him back in form. So even though he didn't quite get to his main straps today, I just wonder, by him playing for 20 overs and playing the way that he did for the next game or two, it might just pay them back with the innings and the time in the middle that he's just spent. He'll be the first to admit that he didn't quite get into his groove in terms of the power hitting. But when you get your opening batsman batting 20 overs, and particularly with him getting near on 70, you always expect a few more cameos. I thought the Stoinis, we talked about it at the halfway house, the Stoinis dismissal was crucial, because if they'd have faced another 10 balls, they would have got to 175, and who knows how that chase would have been, chasing a few more. But the Mumbai Indians, they're always very, very strong. They're always very professional. And I thought in that chase tonight, they almost just sent a message to the rest of the tournament that the champions are around. They're playing the same team pretty much every game. They may have to just play one or two more players over the course of the next few games to get them some game time, but they look like the team to beat.
They certainly do, Michael. But having said all that, because of the position Delhi have put themselves in, being on top of the table, they sort of have that luxury to say that, fine, we'll look at all the things that went wrong. Prithvi Shaw will have to sit in the corner. Shikhar Dhawan will look at maybe improving that strike rate and joy. When they go forward in the tournament, and as Michael has said more than once, these two teams could meet later on in a knockout game. Perhaps that's when all this will stand them in good stead.
Yeah, actually, if you look at it, theoretically, they could meet in 4 games, 3 more games after this. There's a reverse match. And then if they end up 1 and 2, they'll play against each other again. And then if the person who's knocked out there comes and reaches the finals again, they could play each other 3 more times in this tournament. So I think it's an important thing for them to have a very good look at each other, because they're going to say that these are our likely guys. Anything can happen. I think Kolkata is very dangerous because they have a mix of players who can do anything. I think Bangalore can fizz, but you'd have to say that Mumbai and Delhi at this point in time look better than all the rest of the teams.
And there is a record, Michael, to suggest 7 times in the last 9 years, the top 2 teams have actually gone on to contest the final. I know we've got a lovely format that allows 3 and 4, and you've got a second chance, second bite of the cherry and all that. But 1 and 2 is important. It's form going into that playoff.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's confidence in individuals that are in the teams, and obviously at the top of the table, we've got individuals that are playing nicely. I think there's some good teams in this year's IPL, but I think these 2 that we've seen tonight are the 2 that really stood out. We're only at the halfway stage, so the likes of the RCB are suddenly finding the formula. Virat back in form, Chris Morris into the attack, KKR without Sunil Narayan, we'll have to wait and see. That could be a big blow for them. But these 2 really, I think they're going to take some stopping. I wouldn't say at this stage that one of these 2 will definitely go on and win it, but I would be amazed if one of these 2 is definitely not in the final. At least one of them in the final, and that means they've got a great chance of winning it.
Yeah, and we are not the only ones speculating. I can tell you, Joy and Michael, at the end of the game, they did admit, Delhi, that they were about 10 or 15 runs short Shreyas Iyer, and that Marcus Stoinis, that key point when he got out, after that, they sort of lost their way to get to that 170, 175, which, in all honesty, would have made a difference with the quality and class of their attack.
Absolutely. I think 10-15 in this kind of a very edgy game, where 2 teams are very evenly matched, 10-15 runs makes a huge difference. It doesn't against other teams, maybe where you have a little bit of slack in you so you can make up. But 10-15 runs for a Mumbai, is just it's a difference. The moment they had 160, that, these guys, Mumbai has a great chance.
But you've got to give credit. Despite everything, the bowlers knew they had a little bit less to play with. But again, going ahead in the tournament, they will already have established the variety, the fact that these bowlers can bowl at different stages. Rabada, Nokia, Akshar Patel, Michael, you called it about Ashwin bowling to de Kock and bowling to him in that early on. So they have ticked those boxes with the ball.
Yeah, you just look at Akshar Patel, he's been magnificent on the ball in the 3 overs, and Stoinis getting 2.4, getting hit for 31. And maybe a little bit of a tactical mistake there, but Rabada, once again, we're seeing some high-class fast bowling, whether it's Bumrah, Bolt, Rabada, Jofra Archer. We're seeing some real quality in the pace department, which is what's made cricket a great spectacle. I think we all like seeing pace. We like seeing the ball fly past the nose. We like seeing batsmen play the pull shot and the flicks. And they need to have pace on the ball to be able to play those shots. And in Rabada and Bumrah and Jofra, we're seeing magnificent white ball bowling. Real aggression, real pace, but also great variations. And when they need to bowl that Yorker, they know they've got that waiting in the wing as well. So it's great to see pace in the game.
Yes, on the one side, pace in the game. The other side, it's also good to see batsmen actually coming to form. We saw Shikhar Dhawan struggle early on, make up for it. Virat Kohli struggled early on, made up for it. Another person who looked woeful in the first few games, even by his own admission, was Quinton de Kock. But once he started hitting the ball in the middle, much like Virat Kohli's one boundary in that super over, it was no looking back for Quinton de Kock, and we featured him in our Boost Stamina Meter, and here's why. Lots of running around, lots of playing up there in the middle, 53 of 36. His rating has gone up to 87.5, and have a look at 51% of the team's runs during his stay came while they were running, and also, of course, he gets a fielding rating. So he's always been an asset, but Quinton de Kock in games 1, 2, and 3, you're almost starting to tell yourself he needs to score a few runs, Michael, and he did.
Yeah, I mean, he's high class. He's just got that gift to be able to hit the ball almost 360 degrees against all the bowlers. I liked the Quinton de Kock this evening because it was just full of intent. I think sometimes, his style of play might have one or two innings that doesn't quite go his way because he has a little bit of misfortune, but it doesn't mean it has to go back into his shell. When he's at his best, he's just looking to attack, looking to be aggressive against the quicks, that pull shot, that flick on the onside, any kind of width, he gets his hands through the ball. It's very simple to me with Quinton de Kock. His role is to go and cause chaos. That's his role. Just get out there and cause some chaos. And I thought tonight it was nearly Quinton at his best. When he's at his full best, he sees the game home and he's 80 not out, and the game is done in the 15th over. He got out, so he's not at his best. But those 50 runs and the intent that he showed, Mumbai keep him in that kind of form, and then get Rohit just added a little bit, and he will because he's high class. He'll come to the party as well. That batting lineup for the Mumbai Indians has just got everything covered.
They do, and very quiet chaos. I mean, if anyone who's interviewed Quinton de Kock knows that if you go by his interviews or the enthusiasm shown in the interviews, you wouldn't think he'd score a run in his life. But he somehow gets it done with the bat in hand, and there are players like that. What does it say for the points table? Remember, we're talking about a top table clash. There was a change as far as the other game was concerned. We saw Rajasthan just sneak up a little bit, and here it's Mumbai who are leapfrogged onto the top of the table. 1.327, a very healthy net run rate. If you keep getting the points, you're not going to look at that net run rate at all, but just for academic interest, there it is. 10 and 10, these two top teams certainly belonging there. And if you have a look at 10-10, 8-8, 6-6, that really says you're dividing, already separating the wheat from the chaff, Joy.
Yeah, I think it's beginning to settle. And I think now it's going to be the interesting part of the tournament because this is the time that teams get desperate. So Mumbai and Delhi are going to tell each other that, or tell themselves rather, that we need to be 1 and 2. We cannot afford to give up 1 and 2. I mean, they're not particularly concerned if they're 1 or 2, but they have to be 1 and 2. Kolkata and Bangalore will be looking and saying, we need to stop Sunrisers and Rajasthan from catching us up. And I think they'll play a bit of desperate cricket out there. And I think this is the place where to put distance between. And exactly, Rajasthan will be hoping that, let Delhi win everything except against us. Let Mumbai win everything against us. Let those teams which are 3 and 4 start losing a few matches. That's what they need.
But let's really focus on the story of the day. As we said, it's been a doubleheader, a long Saturday, a long Sunday. And once again, the story of the day has been the young Indian performers. It wasn't too long ago when it was the Sunrisers Hyderabad who produced these young Indian performers in Abhishek Sharma, Abdul Samad. And suddenly the boot was on the other foot. And we saw against the Orange Army, it was Riyan Parag, Rahul Tewatia, showing Riyan Parag, of course, one of the young guns, but Rahul Tewatia, the big thing there for him, when you see someone hit 5 sixes, most people say, look, it's not going to happen again. Sure, the 5 sixes won't happen again. But the fact that he can come and win you games has happened again, gentlemen.
Yeah. Absolutely. And, I remember just before he started in the innings, he normally wears spectacles. So somebody went and put, eye drops in because his contact lenses were giving him trouble. And at that point in time, you walk in, you're going to bat out there. It's very hot out there. You're batting in the afternoon. And, your eyes are giving you trouble. You wonder, how is this guy going to actually stand up and play? And he played brilliantly. And it was his attack on not just any other bowler, on Rashid Khan, who's probably the most successful spinner in the IPL, that changed the game. And I think more than anything else in the performance, we can talk about his shots and everything. It was heart. It was pure heart. It was the strength of resolve saying that I'm not going to give up. I don't care whether you're Rashid Khan, whether you're the best spinner in the world. I'm going to go after you. And that is what changed the game for me.
And Michael, what Joy says, the heart, the belief, when his previous performance had come, the 5 sixes, people were not talking about, okay, compare him to your Yuvraj Singh or could he have got 6 or whatever. They were only saying that in the times we live in now, we want to see examples of belief. And that was what is so heartening.
Yeah, it's a very important win. And when you have 2 young Indian players seeing your team over the line, it's even better because that's what you want. IPL based obviously in Dubai, UAE, but it's an Indian tournament. You want your youngsters coming through. So it's great for Indian cricket, but for Rajasthan to have won that game, where realistically it was lost after 16 overs of the chase. No one saw that they could get over the line, particularly with Rashid Khan having that 1 over up his sleeve. and to do it so convincingly in the end, and to get them to 6 points, and the fact that Ben Stokes didn't do anything in the game, but he's back into that side, I can only see that Rajasthan will get better. I can't see Smith not finding form at some stage. I can't see Josh Butler not finding form at some stage. And I can't see Ben Stokes not having an impact on the game over the next couple. And then you've got your young Indians and you've got Jofra Archer. Do they have enough to win it? I don't. It'd be amazing for them to win it from here, because I just don't know if they have enough. But I know they've got spirit, and spirit can take you a long way in sport. You only have to look back to 2008 when Rajasthan won it. They just won it on pure spirit and Shane Warne. Can they do it again? It's a long shot, but I like teams that have spirit and have a little bit of guts, and Rajasthan have got that in abundance, so you just never know.
I'm glad you mentioned Warney in there, because at that point, when one leg spinner from Afghanistan was coming into bowl, only Shane Warne truly believed that they had a chance. And I'm sure you're going to have a nice little chat with him on Twitter or wherever it might be, Michael.
Absolutely, always do. Yeah, I mean, I didn't give him a chance in the chase. And when they were 3 down quickly inside the first 6, I still didn't give him a chance. And at 15 overs, I didn't give him a chance. In actual fact, even in the last over, I thought, Rajasthan have been used to losing. They're going to somehow kind of throw this back away. But Shane Warne character, and having him in the stand, I know he's not having a massive influence on the team during the game situation because of the structure that they've created. But that spirit generally is created by characters, and he's a big, big character. So he'll be playing all sorts of games with them off the field. There'll be all sorts happening. And that spirit will just roll on with them. They'll just hope that they can get some of those better players, the Smiths, the Butlers, and go into more consistent form. And if they do, they're going to be a match for anybody.
But to finish that story off, we can talk all about the batsmanship of Riyan Parag. But what about the dance moves? What about the culture? What about everything, the happiness he brings back home?
Absolutely. I mean, he is so amazing. And that's what it is. It's not just Rajasthan. He did the Bihu dance out there. And then after that, every match, everyone wears a towel. He wears a gamusa, which is a traditional, cloth which you get in Assam, which is hand embroidered. Absolutely amazing. And what he brings to them is, his mother was one of the most famous swimmers in the Northeast. His father was a cricketer. His father, in fact, played against Dhoni. And so he brings a certain ebullience. And he brings one more thing. He brings that belief. And I just want to show you one thing. As I said, I haven't popped out a book for a very long time. So I'll take out a book, which I think an author, which I think Michael might have also seen. It's a man who really, really is called Matthew Syed. And Matthew Syed is basically, of course, this is the book on the greatest, which is his writings on The Economist.
Yeah.
So, Matthew Syed is a Commonwealth badminton table tennis champion himself, writes brilliantly on sport. So one of the things he was writing about, and I know this is a big comparison for Riyan Parag, is that he talked about Beckham, and Beckham in his last days at Real Madrid was being dropped by Capello. And Beckham, many players could react in many ways because Beckham is a legitimate all-time great. And Beckham just say, you know what, I'm anyway finished. I'm going to Galaxy next season. It doesn't matter what happens out here. And Beckham instead turned around and said, you know what, it matters. What he's saying makes sense. And the way I'm playing is not working for the team. So I'm going to sit and figure out how to play better and make myself better for the team. And he came back, and Capello started picking him because he started playing better again. And that is so amazing. And, for Riyan Parag also being dropped, many players take being dropped very difficult. They can't suit themselves. They suddenly feel unwanted. They don't know what's going on there. But to take it positively and come back there and do what he did, that's what makes Riyan Parag special. And I think he'll really, really savor this, not just because he got a match-winning knock, but from where he came to get that match-winning knock.
At one end, Riyan Parag, and at the other end is a man who's done it once. He's done it again. We gave you the lightning analogy. For the moment, let's just take a step back and put him on our boost stamina meter for game 1. Rahul Tewatia. We've seen what an asset he is to the side. Overall rating has to be up in those 80s. 45 of 28 balls today when we really didn't give them a chance. 4 boundaries, 2 sixes. 64% of his team's runs during his stay came via running. And of course, we know what an asset he is with ball as well. So they seem to have discovered, in the absence of a performance from a Smith or a Butler, or now Stokes and even Samson starting to taper off, how important the Tewatias are going to be.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to have that self-belief to win games, anyone really can, or should I say, there's lots of players who can get you a quick 30 or 40 and get out. There's not so many that can actually be there at the end shaking the opposing team's hand to win the game, because those last 10 runs are always the hardest 10 runs to get. And if you can just get consistently knocked out at the end of the innings, you go back to Michael Vaughan for Australia all those years ago, he just always was knocked out at the end of the chase. If you can have that mindset, if you can do it a couple of times early, which Wattia has done, and every time he goes out to the middle now, he'll have to believe that he can be there at the end, which is it's such a skill to have. It's the hardest skill in one-day cricket, is to be knocked out at the end of the chase. It's just a difficult method. It's so tempting to play riskier shots when you get close and you end up getting out and you leave it to somebody else. But to actually, and now, and particularly today, to win that game, because I think if Rajasthan had lost today, and you look at the table with them playing 7, I think they'd have found it very, very difficult to, for one, get themselves back. But that win today and that one performance and that one partnership really has given them a massive boost. It's almost like they've won 2 games now, one in Sharjah and the one today, where really they shouldn't have won them. So they'll be saying to themselves, look, if we can suddenly find more form and 8 or 9 of us can arrive and play rather than just 4 or 5 turning up, that's why I say that the spirit of the Royals is going to take them a long way, but they'll need more than spirit eventually. They'll need more of their players playing more consistently.
Yeah, I see what you did there, Michael. A massive boost can only come from someone who on the boost stamina meter more than one. So well done, Michael, on that one. But let's look at the My 11th Circle Ultimate Team of the Day, because we always feature that towards the end, and we can feature it more than once. And let's have a look at the My 11th Circle Ultimate Team of the Day. And this is right, so here we have the My 11 Circle Ultimate Team of the Day from the first game. You can see those players in pink, the key players who came in there. Naturally, Rahul Tewatia would be either captain or vice-captain. Manish Pandey got a few runs to make him captain, but Riyan Parag, Jos Butler, Sanju Samson, Jofra Archer, all the key performers there, making sure that Rajasthan prevailed at the end. It's not just one game. We have our My 11 Circle Ultimate Team of the Day from Game 2, the best of the performers. Quinton de Kock, as was Ishan Kishan, Alex Carey, the 3 keepers all featuring in there. But captain and vice-captain, Shikhar Dhawan, Surya Kumar Yadav, very important contribution. We might have criticized Shikhar Dhawan for his strike rate, but at the end of the day, he garnered the points for everyone who selected him, and he obviously got his side enough runs. May not have been enough to get them a win, but certainly enough to get his own form to be at the top of the order. We have one individual who selected well enough to be the My 11 Circle Champion of the Day. And which part of the country does he come from? All will be revealed. There you go, from West Delhi, Madhurendra Kumar from West Delhi. We try and just generally find a pattern where the guy who wins and that particular team is not playing. But today, it's a Delhi guy who was there for a Delhi game with 330 points. Now, that's as far as this double header is concerned. But when we showed you the points table, there was something very interesting. We said 10-10, 8-8, 6-6, 4-2. And what does it mean? It means one of the 2 teams playing tomorrow can actually get to 10 and level up at the top of the table, which is why it makes that Monday clash even more mouthwatering. And guess where it is? It's in Sharjah. Bangalore against Kolkata. Both teams at identical points. Should be an absolute cracker. I'll come to you, Michael Vaughan, first. They're moving to Sharjah. It's a big 6-hitting ground. But let's start with Kolkata, with the possibility they will have no Sunil Narayan and no Andre Russell.
I always think if Sunil Narayan is not going to play that much more in this IPL, I think KKR have gone. I don't see that they'll have enough in the bowling department to win this year's IPL or the batting department. I think, with Sunil Narayan, you just know that you can kind of save him for 3 overs at the end, and he just causes chaos. Whatever you're defending or, you're bowling first, he gets wickets. He's still a bowler that, when you think about how many times the players have played against him, they still don't pick him. They're still not sure what's coming out of the hand. So he's a massive loss. I really do believe if he's not going to play much of a role now going forward, KKR, their trump card. And then you add in Andre Russell, who obviously has picked up that injury. 2 massive players. And without those 2, Joy will know more. He used to work at KKR. I think they're really going to struggle to compete without those 2 star players.
I fully, if neither of them are playing, it is a huge issue. I have a feeling that Sunil Narayan, they'll figure out, they'll go back to the match referee. You see, as I said, the match referee makes his list of what are the balls you were called on. So they'll go back, they'll go with the analyst, they'll look at the video, and they'll say, okay, maybe this ball needs to be eliminated. But as I said yesterday as well, the problem there is that once you're on notice, every umpire will watch you like a hawk, every match referee will watch you like a hawk. So it just makes you, under the scanner or radar much more. And, occasionally, let's face it, every bowler slips one in where it's slightly faster and, it just, every bowler uses that in his armory. And that now is going to be, Sunil will be more conscious than anyone else of what's happening. And if anyone can handle it, it's him, because he's, temperament-wise, I haven't seen a better temperament. You could hit him for 4 sixes in over, and he wouldn't, he looks straight at you in the eye, and you'll think nothing has happened. But, will he be able to get through this? Really depends on now how the coaching staff and the management staff decide to do. Do they play him? Do they not play him? Do they play him and take the chance and say, look, he's not bowling that ball anymore, we'll challenge anyone who calls him? Or do they say that, no, let's hold him back, let's put him in cotton wool and use him closer to the semi-finals where we really need him? So it's really now tactically what they're going to do. As far as Andre is concerned, it's managing his body. And the one thing is that you have to say that Andre recovers quickly as well. For some reason, we have seen him in KKR having, run-ins which are horrific. He looks as if he won't play the next 7 days. And 2 days later, he's smiling and bowling in the net. So, he's one of those kind of characters. So they need those guys. Without them, they're in trouble.
Let's have a look at the possible options then, because there has been a bit of cotton wool that was used in the Caribbean for Sunil Narayan, came back towards the end of the tournament. But just assuming that those two don't play, we know Chris Green has been carrying the drinks quite a while. He's been very good at it. And Tom Banton has been someone we've talked about. Michael, you can tell us, you would have seen him a lot more than we would have. So much potential, so much expectation. Is he someone who we can expect something from?
Yeah, he's a good player, young player, so you've not got too much consistency with him. He could have a great day out and get you a quick 50. Likelihood that he could hit one straight in the air as well. So no, he's got a fantastic career ahead of him. Interesting with Chris Green, you go to Chris Green to replace Sunil Narayan. He's had problems with his action. He was left out the Big Bash in Australia with a problem with his action. So it's quite ironic that they might be replacing someone with the same kind of problem. They need those 2 star players. They're going to need those 2 star players. They've got to somehow work it out, because what will happen when you play KKR is Sunil Narayan is in the side. It's the opposing side that's going to go to the umpires and the match referees saying, come on, you've got to have a look. Because everyone knows now that he's one away from being completely washed out of the tournament. So it is a big risk to play there. But Tom Banton is the kind of kid that if he gets thrown in there, it wouldn't surprise me if he struck 50 and 25 balls. He's got that kind of game. He's got the gift to be able to play cricket, can whack it hard, can whack it far. And if there's one venue that you'd like to go and have a bat, that's Sharjah. So if you're going to get a chance in the team, and you're looking at someone like Chris Green on the opposite side of the fence, I'm not too sure that you fancy bowling off spin in Sharjah. So he's probably hoping that the call doesn't come, and Tom Banton's hoping that the call does come.
Yeah, Green will be hiding somewhere for sure. But I know the bowlers won't be queuing up, and I'm just going to throw 2 more names at you, Joy. One is Kuldeep Yadav, who has not played for a couple of games, and the other, if it's an X factor they're looking for, is someone like Ali Khan, who bowls really quick, and if they want to do something. But I believe that there's an injury issue with Ali Khan, but so we'll assume later in the tournament. But talk about Kuldeep. Yeah,
Kuldeep, look, they could look at Lockie Ferguson as well and say that, let's get a fast bowler in and just do it. It's not going to be the same thing. Lockie coming in, he bowls at close to 150, but that's not what is making a difference right now. What is making a difference is, Sunil Narayan, who's just got that X factor. If he's not, I would like to see Kuldeep Yadav play a part, because Kuldeep Yadav is a unique bowler and he's an important bowler for them. But the problem is the way their team is comprised right now. Their only option is, what they can do is drop one of Prasidh Krishna or Shivam Mavi and go in with an extra spinner. In which case, your fast bowlers are basically you have Pat Cummins and one more fast bowler, and then you just look at the other people. That can only work if Andre Russell is still in the team. If Andre Russell is not in the team, you can't do that. But that's what their problem is. They struggle to find a way to accommodate Kuldeep Yadav once Varun Chakravarti is successful. That's their problem.
Yeah, well, problems of plenty at times. They may not mind it, but a lot will be revealed once we know more news on Sunil Narayan and whether they're willing to take that risk. And of course, Andre Russell's body. What about the opposition? We know they've got a few players in there who are coming into form at just the right time. We'll talk about Chris Morris in a moment, but obviously, AB de Villiers, when he decides to explode, if it's Sharjah, it could be mayhem. There could be a lot of business from the hardware stores across the road. And Virat Kohli, Michael Vaughan, has just started to show why he's Virat Kohli.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's no question all around the best player in the world across all the formats in my eyes. That one shot, the super over, it's amazing cricket that you can just play one ball and it just gets your confidence levels back up there and you start to believe. Even a great player like Virat Kohli would have lost confidence because he'd had a run of so many, not low scores, but lowish scores for Virat standards. And you go back to your room and think, oh, when am I going to start finding the middle of the bat? And that one ball that hit the middle of the bat, won the super over. He then went into the next game, got runs, and obviously the last innings was a tremendous knock to take his team pretty much all the way to get them to that competitive total. And I think it's helped his leadership. I think in the last two games, he's been very clever out in the outfield. And when you've got a new dimension to your attacking Chris Morris, who can bowl an aggressive bounce, who can bowl a Yorker, he can take one across the left-handers, he can take one back into the left-handers. As a captain, you start to get more belief because you've got more armoury with your bowling attack. So I think Chris Morris is a real key player for the RCB. They'll want Aaron Finch to find some form. Aaron's struggled at the top. A tremendous player, a real striker. And if they can get him finding form, and then obviously Virat, and then you add in AB de Villiers, they start then to look like a real powerful team. It's just that bowling. I always doubt that bowling. Is it going to be good enough under a huge amount of pressure, particularly later on in the tournament when it really matters? Is the bowling going to be good enough to really win them a game? I'm not too sure it is.
Well, let's have a look at what the options that they have in front of them. If we predict any possible changes in the lineup, we can obviously see certain players select themselves. Chahal's been brilliant. Sometimes we don't even mention him. Isuru Udana, who wasn't mentioned at the start of the tournament when we saw Dale Steyn in, Moeen Ali's come in, Adam Zampa's played. But Isuru Udana as an international player and the unheralded Washington Sundar, how outstanding. We talked about him the other day, Joy.
No, absolutely. I think Washington Sundar is outstanding. I think what the problem with all RCB bowlers is that they're shell shocked because anyone who plays regularly at the Chinnaswamy as their home ground, being a bowler already they know they've got the wrong cards in life. So all of them are like that. Nobody, because you spent 4 years playing for RCB, and I remember Vinay Kumar when he was, after a while he got picked by KK and he said, finally a ground I can bowl at which isn't the size of a postage stamp where the ball doesn't fly off, and it actually impacts bowlers. So I think that's why their attack is always suspect. But I think this attack is now coming in there. Washington Sundar, mental strength. I think he has the mental strength. And the moment you have a spinner who not just bowls but relishes bowling in the early overs, has this mental spirit for it, I think it's a good place to be. Udana, I have my doubts about, because if Udana gets hit, I still like the way that playing Adam Zampa will make a difference towards the end of this tournament. In this tournament, the ball will turn towards the end. Zampa has a part to play. I also believe Shahbaz Nadeem has a part to play in this, but let's see how things go from here.
Yeah, we did see a hint of that in Sharjah, but I think just to sum up that entire Bangalore story, behind the scenes, a lot of people talked about how the whole Virat Kohli factor is sort of playing out on the rest of the team. Because when you go back to that super over, we saw what happened on the field. What happened in the dressing room was AB de Villiers is padded up. You didn't think Virat Kohli was going to come out to bat because of the way he had batted in the tournament. He asked AB, "You going in? I'm coming with you." Simple as that. He just decided on the spur of the moment that even though he was not hitting the ball, he was just going to go out there and do it for the team. And I think it's sort of rubbed off on the rest of the team, and we will figure out. So they've answered the questions. Have Bangalore? I believe, Joy, we have something very rare that's happened on this special Sunday. And you can tell us that news on how many people, if any, have answered your question.
Nobody. Nobody. I have done it finally. Now, all those crazy statsmen, all those crazy gentlemen out there who know far more about cricket than me, because I have the easy one of setting the questions. I finally got them, and I think in about 200, 250 odd joy factors, this is the second time that it's happened. Okay, here is the question, and I actually didn't think it was that tough. It's just one of those things that didn't hit anyone. Okay, two of these players currently captain teams in the tournament. The current Delhi squad has the maximum 3. Mumbai and Hyderabad 2 each, and Punjab, Kolkata, and Rajasthan have 1 apiece. What is this list about? This is the list of the winners of the emerging trophy tournament that is given every year. The emerging player of the year is something that started off from year 1, and Shrivas Goswami got it. Rohit Sharma got it. So the captains are Rohit Sharma and Shreyas Iyer. I mean, Delhi has Rohit Sharma, Shreyas Iyer. Has Shreyas Iyer, Rishabh Pant, and I think one more player, Akshar Patel. 3 of them have got it. So that is it. It's the people who have won the emerging player, and I'm just amazed that you expect some questions which I thought nobody would get. They get within 15 minutes. This one I thought would be answered within 10 minutes, and it's come back to me.
15 minutes, Joy? I thought you were going to say 15 seconds. We have questions that are answered in 15 seconds. And this one, actually an excellent question. And I think I'll have to say, obviously the question comes to you, the award comes back to you, Joy, but a very appropriate question on a day when the story of the day has been players who really will be contenders for an emerging player award. Riyan Parag, Rahul Tewatia, they've done it. Indian cricket is in good hands, and it's been absolutely wonderful to be able to tell the story of these and to tell the story of Rajasthan winning a wonderful victory today. Thank you very much to Michael Vaughan.
Yes, guys.
Thank you, Joy Bhattacharya, and well done on that question. And of course, all of you for joining us as you do every day. We'll be back. It's going to be a single header tomorrow. It's going to be a big one, though, from Sharjah. It's going to be raining sixes again. You only have to tune in to find out. Bangalore against Kolkata. We'll see you then. This is My 11th Circle presents Cricbuzz Live.